Well, as I mentioned, another important disclaimer, so we will walk through a few things where AI can help you or not help you, or need to consider a few things. Who has been joining in the trainings? I mean, the AI risk training, for example, a few of you. You will see a lot of things, and sure, I promise it's an accident, or not really an accident, but Natalie explained very well in the course actually what you should be aware of in managing cybersecurity and AI. The good news is certainly the NIST risk management framework for AI is a very good guidance. I will come up with a few items, but I want to take it a bit more practical on a few things, right? So. This will not be the typical presentation. First of all, shout out if there are any questions. If you don't, then I will get started with a few practical things. Yeah, I must admit again, I will maybe stress these guys again because I will jump around in the presentation. I have 60 pages prepped. Not all of them will be presented during the session, but depending on your questions or your interest, we need to navigate a few things over here, right? Yeah, if you want to see what I'm doing, connect on LinkedIn. I think certainly this conference already for a few years is a very nice framework and a network actually to connect to people. You see a lot of people around, so connect. It's very interesting. So you might see me around on a few things. Certainly pushing a lot of things on LinkedIn for the professional network. And second thing, you might also see my face popping up regularly on PECB webinars. So good. One of the things, what is the importance of AI? And this is a very interesting one. Just last week, there was quite some drama by Gartner, for example. And actually, they initially updated their original hype cycle. Do you know the hype cycle? Anyone seen it? That's a very typical one. Yeah, go ahead. So, seen it? It's a very typical one. And if you see this cycle, it was the same for cloud security, for example. It was the same for any other technology. And just ask yourself, where are we right now? And last week, 2 weeks ago, Gartner updated the life of the cycle actually with an update. So have a look at Gartner. And if you see for the AI hype cycle, you will see a version 2025. What is important to show, remembering the previous slide, we're actually on the downhill now. So there was a lot of hyping on AI, a lot of possible things. People thought AI is very smart. It's intelligent. We're going in the downfall right now. So which means that it's not necessarily negative, but we're going into the stabilization mode. So you see that a lot of the hyping things and people get now with the feet on the floor. And certainly on cybersecurity, it's important right now to get your feet on the floor, right? There's certainly one hype, and I will switch in a few slides. The doom scenario stuff has been there already in the upcycle actually for AI for quite a while. We're not there yet. So if you want to explain, for example, to your company, to your customer, to a CEO where AI is right now, this is an important one. Put in really realistic stuff, think about it. Of course, AI and agentic AI, and there are some other sessions actually today also, and tomorrow I think Christoph is, for example, also giving you a bit of insights how to fight and do some practical solutions in defending against AI or putting in some cybersecurity tricks on that one. This is an important one. Yeah, I switched in between. Let me quickly switch over here. One of the typical questions I get, in essence, from lots of CEOs is this one, right? How close are we to AI doomsday, right? Yes, AI is used for cyber, right? Yes, AI is used for malware, but it's not really intelligent, right? So many CEOs, and yeah, the reason for this, mentioning this, and again, it's a disclaimer already generated actually by ChatGPT last night, so it's mine, copyright level. But this is an important question. Yeah, if you see my agenda, 1/3 of my agenda is Cyberminute and this institute and teaching courses and guiding SME, small enterprises. 1/3 is is a bit of consulting, and 1/3 is auditing. Last year, I've done pretty much 100 days of audit, and every single time ISO 27000 audits, I get the question, okay, where is AI? Do I need to take care of it? Do I need to do a policy? And how can AI damage my company? This is pretty much the image that most of CEOs have of AI, right? AI is not yet autonomous. In that case, I think we need to look at the Terminator films and so on, but we're not there yet. So AI is in many cases still being a helpful tool to get things done, also for crime, right? But it actually is human operated, right? So keep that in mind. Right. So, and also in the session last week, we talked about a bit of the roles in AI, but one of the next questions is usually how important then AI is actually in AI or with AI. So I've prepared 2 slides. First of all, AI is a system, like cloud is. Right? AI is a platform, like cloud is. Right, so it's used actually in many cases to get into, and that's also one of the things. By the way, also in the previous sessions, and also what Nathalie explained, also in the AI risk management course, is getting into your AI. Right. What do you think actually that the main issue is right now for companies using AI? Let me reverse the questions. This is an ask me anything, right? What's the main issue right now for AI for companies? Yeah, go ahead.
I think when they're using their sensitive information and using AI, I think that's disclosing all their information in the system.
So disclosing information right now for using AI, right? Is it what kind of AI are you talking about? Is it handled, or is it managed AI, or is it open AI? Is it dark IT? She mentions over here that using ChatGPT and tools, you're getting pretty close. At least if I look at what I see during audits, and there are a few colleagues here also doing some ISO audits and ISO implementations. What's the main issue? Can I go ahead?
I'm just guessing, but I would say that they're not managed. They don't know where they're using it, what kind of tools they're using it, how they're using it, when.
Typical term for that unmanaged environment is what is called shadow IT. Right? The IT guys don't know. Yeah. Right. So, yeah. Yeah, sorry, Rita, you're going to have a hard time job today to manage the microphones. You choose for an ask me anything session, right? So yeah, go ahead. There was a question over there.
Anyway, I think one of the main issues I've come across is the absence of a policy. I mean, there's really no way. Sometimes management even has no visibility on what's happening with the AI.
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely right. And by the way, this is also one of the things you will find back in the slide deck we discussed also last Thursday. So there's a perfect match. Thank you very much for the suggestion in that way. But there's a perfect match, and that's exactly what I usually hint to when I do the audits. Have a look at the 42000, which is one of the ISO standards for and getting that visibility. But in that, and even in that case, central control or doing the practical control of AI is nearly impossible, right? I challenge most of my customers, and Nathalie helped me out actually on structuring the audit a bit. But I ask every single team during an audit, how are you using AI? And the answer are typically not the ones that the IT team is giving me, right? The sales team is using marketing, and the typical stuff, HR, right, are now more and more using AI to investigate the HR profiles they get. And I think one of the colleagues mentioned also yesterday, Stefan, there was a big case actually in Belgium that many candidates are even using AI to manipulate their CVs. It's a very simple principle. You put in a lot of blank text in your CV. What they actually do is they take actually the vacancy by the company, they put it in the background in white text so the HR persons are not seeing it, right? But by using AI, you're manipulating the rates, right? So by the document, if the AI team then is, actually AI used by HR is using the scan of the CV, it pops up at the top 10 actually of the candidates, right? So there are some questions over here, Ardian. So yeah, go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, first is bias and discrimination, ethical considerations, data quality, implementation costs, talent acquisition shortage, then integrating with existing systems. These could be a few.
Yes, and that's one of the challenges when talking about the policies and so on. So you can lock down a few things, making a allow list, making a block list on a few things exactly. But there are very few platforms, and I think depending on the policy you mentioned, it should be in your policy what kind of platforms are you allowed to use, right? And then second thing, getting that policies even up to the end users is quite a challenge. By the way, in that sense, and again, it's only your opinion, there are not a lot of platforms actually that lock down your data, and one of them, for example, is the Microsoft, the Copilot one. Typically, it's hosted within your tenant, meaning you pay the license for it, and you can, if you have done it well, decide where the data is sitting. So you can choose in which region it is. But many of other free platforms like ChatGPT and whatever, right? And I have a few examples also over here, Perplexity, whatever. You don't know where the data is. So yes, right? But the problem actually starts in most of the cases, and this is really an attention point at the early stage of usage and testing. And many users go to the internet. I can show you a few things, right? The images I showed you actually is just a perfect example of that one. They start testing it. I don't know if you know the Samsung case, but actually lots of people were actually using a tool, then find out actually later on that a lot of employees have pumped a lot of HR data in AI, and where is your data, right? This is also one of the things you should have a look at. Also, is consider use these standards, use these considerations, use the data quality. I had a very interesting discussion even this morning. Is that people ranting about the volume and the AI systems going into hallucinations, right? I don't see a lot of problems with that. People hallucinate too, right?
So also one thing, like in many companies, the management, they are taking a strategic decision. They are asking employees to create agents via using ChatGPT agent mode, and to speed your task. Like you rightly said, like in my organization, HR is using AI to find out candidates more speedy way. RMS is using to fasten their task which they are doing on daily basis. Similarly, there are many other teams. Travel, they are using for booking travels for the people who are frequent flyers, right? So yes, they are using this agent, but at the same time, what I feel when we create agent, we are giving access to a lot of our data. Like if I am using a agent to reply one of the emails which I am getting on a repetitive basis, and the same reply has to go there. So, but there's a lot of data which is consumed in creating AI agent. So it is very difficult for me. Sometimes I'm in dilemma whether should I create agent for many tasks or not.
Yeah, that's exactly one of the things also I mentioned. You will find in the slide deck, which I talked about it also on Thursday. If you look at the job positions, what you need right now to manage AI, it's hallucinating, right? I had, for example, a customer already for a few years. Actually, they're operating from Madagascar because actually they have extremely smart people for fairly cheap prices, to be honest. If you know that these people are actually gaining 50 euros a month, the company I'm working with is paying 4 times the monthly rate. Happy people, very motivated people, by the way. But why am I mentioning this is that actually, as what you mentioned also, data quality, right? So people don't realize that hanging up of actually connecting your AI system to the internet is causing a lot of actually data consumed, which is polluted, which is biased. You mentioned the same thing. But even for these agentic AI systems, are you aware what they are doing? Are you educated to find out what's happening? And this is also one of the things you should be very much aware also in crime, right? Crime does know this, right? So they are explicitly tricking you into feeding wrong information or even polluting the systems. But to be honest, I have been one of the few, I think 25 years ago, I did my CISSP. You know the CISSP training, which is a bit of a competition of PCB, but a technical training for architects and data center stuff, right? I don't see any difference right now with AI, right? It's all sitting in the data center, now it's sitting in the cloud. The computer's just somewhere else. The only difference in AI right now, what I see is where is my data? I don't know, right? Even if you're using rather internal constructions like platforms like what I mentioned also, for example, Copilot and Microsoft, you don't know, but better check, right? And in this case, one of the things, please be aware that the AI, in that sense, to put it very simple, I know it's a bit more complicated than what I'm telling you here, but in essence, it's a platform like anyone else, right? By the way, as what I explained also yesterday in the course and before, have a check on that one, do due diligence checks, right? So it's considered as a platform, there is data, you need to respect the legislation, there will be huge discussions and challenges also with GDPR and legislation, but it's just another system like anyone else, right? So that's an important thing. The second part, and you will get the slides afterwards, is also, and you see a few of the considerations, and you knew the typical GRC stuff, governance, using the standards, even supply chain security. You will see that actually, how is AI used in cyber, right? That's another question I get typically from CEOs. What I'm fighting against, right? It's the same thing. The access actually to AI for cybercrime is pretty much the same thing. For a few euros, actually, they consume AI, the same thing. What is not just important, it's not automated yet. Right? So AI is not independent. It's always something human that actually sets the campaigns, does the stuff. So that's something you need to tell to your CEO or to your direction. AI is not intelligent, right? So they need to input, they need to store, they need to be the direction, so there is human interaction in that one, right? So the major protection on this one, typically GRC, having the governance in, having the policies in, as mentioned, right? And be realistic. Right, so AI is reproducing what human people do, and one major issue here, exactly as I think the data quality was mentioned over here. Certainly, if you connect your systems to ancient or old data, it's rubbish by default. Right. So you get human behavior by AI because they learn human behavior, right? So in that sense, the only protection that you have, in essence, is also human behavior and the human firewall, right? By the way, you see lots of discussions on the human firewall, so that's also very typical questions. How about education? How to make sure that people can protect themselves against phishing, right? Just to be clear, people are not the only last line of defense. All the 99% of your protection must come from your technical security, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, Peter, question to you. You as a trainer, as an auditor and a consultant, how you would tell to organizations that how they have to set the boundaries for using AI inside the organization? And then the second part of the question is how often you can see that the actual end users of the AI should be trained?
Yeah, should be trained. To start with the last question, should be trained. Everyone should be trained. I typically compare management systems and AI and security go hand in hand as a driver license, right? By the way, it takes time, right? So you can't get ready and for AI now. It's moving, is a moving target. But should you have training to every single level? Yes. By the way, a good example to answer your question is the new ISO 27001 and the 22 version right now. There's a new, I don't know if you know the standard a bit, but in the annex controls, there's a new item for cybersecurity called threat intelligence. Have you read what threat intelligence is actually about? What is threat intelligence according to you? Yeah, AI, you need to know the context. But what kind of levels of threat intelligence is expected from the best practices? Any clue?
I guess it depends on your organization and what the risk level is. Because threat intelligence from my organization might differ to your organization on what.
Yes, but to what levels? Who needs to take care of threat intelligence in an organization? Strategic level. Strategic level, that's the top level. But there are 3 levels mentioned in the 2701, for example, and that's the answer, by the way, to your question. To what levels do you need to put? Strategic is 1. What's the second one? Tactical level, departmental level, and the operational one. So many companies think that AI or cybersecurity is only handled by the network and cyber team. It's not, and that's the answer to your question. Everyone should be at least to some level be aware of AI and cyber and supply chain security, whatever. Right. So yeah, how coming back to that question, I typically, when I go in as an auditor, it's very easy. I can ask anything I want, right? So I ask for these levels. So do you have an AI policy? Dear manager, dear CEO, what do you think? How should you use AI? Yeah, we don't want to limit the business and we want to have freedom and so on, right? But check for the AI policies, right? Check how it's processing, but anyway, the data must be put into AI. So that's one thing. Second thing is, by the way, also in the MIT, for example, and also by the MITRE organization. Do you know the MITRE organization? Does it ring a bell? By the way, the references are in the slide deck. But do you know the MITRE organization? MIT, does it ring a bell? What's MIT? The MIT is a university, actually one of the famous universities on the high-level education. They have an AI risk database. Have a look at it. The MITRE is another one. It's very well known for technical people for the CVE database, so the vulnerability database, right? I just found out, and again, it's moving extremely fast, that they have also an AI risk management database. Have a look at it. I will provide you the links. Right? But that should be helping you actually to make sure that everyone in the organization actually is aware of AI. And that's why I mentioned that you should AI and cybersecurity and enterprise security, information security, which is ISO 27001, should be everyone's responsibility. Right? So it's a driving license actually, and you will see, by the way, as explained also in the previous session this morning about the legislation in EU, what the legislation is trying to do is put up the limits and expectations of knowing this is very important. But you need time to drive a car, right? So if you're 18-year-olds just freshly from school getting your driver license, you will be happy that you can drive to the next store, right? Or to your grandparents, whatever, fine. But don't expect to drive around in Brussels, for example. Or maybe a bit more visual is the Champs-Élysées, en fait, in Paris, right? The Arc de Triomphe. Ever tried that one? Is driving the car like this and just entering the cross point and the section and getting over it, right? So and hope that other one stops, right? But that is actually the maturity also of AI. Is give it some time, but at least get started, right? So how do I check it? Is first of all the policies and also making sure that there is some responsible use of AI also in, for example, the contract or in the fair use policy within the companies, right? One of the most difficult things is stop exploring, meaning that if people need a tool, that they look around on the internet, you can't block internet, right? And they start using it. They should not. That's the barrier. But better ask some help or, hey, this is kind of interesting tool. Can I start using it? The next level would be, but this is certainly way more advanced as you might expect from normal people, is using a demo system, for example. I don't know if any one of you is using a Windows 11 enterprise level or laptop. I know there are some Apple freaks here in the room, but anyway. Do you know, for example, in your Windows 11 there's a sandbox function? So you can simply start up a demo machine, test something, go to ChatGPT, ask some root stuff, and then shut down the machine without any issues, right? So testing a few things, but actually the evaluation of AI and the risk management and thinking about security from the beginning, even the first thing that you're going to look for tools should be there, which is then called as security by design and security by default. Right?
So I understand basically the placeholder should be there in that sense, that the boundaries and everything else, it should be calculated decision of the organization to accept or deny the usage of ChatGPT, Copilot, whatever solution.
Well, it's not that simple as accept or deny, meaning that can you do some marketing campaigns with ChatGPT to provide a text, for example, and to make a nice marketing campaign? I think from a risk level seems to be okay. But then if then the HR manager is then thinking, well, we need to have a bit more communication about our profiles on the HR website or on the vacancy stuff and the job provisions. Let's use ChatGPT to list all our job profiles and then make a resume. Right, so there's no black and white decision in that case. Again, risk management, but again, everyone should be on that level on defining the risk, both for cybersecurity as AI, on its level. I would even claim that even the cleaning crew should be aware of risk management in that level. What are they doing or not with the tools, right? And that's currently right now a major challenge. Mainly because, and that's also one of the things in the initial slide, actually, is AI is moving so fast right now, and you've seen the hype cycle, right? So you can't keep up.
So the second part was the training. As you mentioned just now, that the AI is moving forward fast, like the train from Paris to Germany, for example. So the training once a year is not enough.
No. Correct.
How often it should be taking place, in your opinion? Is it twice a year,
well,
2 times a year?
Yeah, let me put it that way. From an experience point of view, I make the balance. Actually, I see similarities, for example, with ISO 27001, right? We see hacks, we see issues every single day, right? Last week we had a supply chain attack. I don't know if anyone has been flying through Brussels last 2 weeks. Did you get your flight? Yeah, probably not. Because actually what happened is one of the supply chain, and we'll go, yeah, there's another item on this one. So it happens every single day. Meaning training on AI once per year, obviously not okay. Once a week. That's one thing what I see, by the way, and awareness and training is also one of the most important things also in ISO 27001, so enterprise security and so on. But there's one thing you need to calculate on that one, and that's a very difficult balance, is the human factor, right? Let me put it that way. I'm doing quite consulting, and every single time you're on board, so it happens a few times a year, you need to run these phishing campaigns, right? Because it's mandatory in the campaign. But yeah, I'm giving trainings almost every single week, every month, whatever. I know what phishing is. I protect companies, help them protect against phishing, and then answering the single questions again. Some of them and lots of customers install automated phishing tools, right? I'm not going to tell you how, but actually you can find out, and depending on the headers of the mail, if it's a testing mail, right? I have a special filter on this, right? So the point here is you need to find the balance where it's useful versus actually the AI fatigue or the information fatigue in that case, right? Once in a quarter, once in a few weeks is fine. I think it's rather the frequency and how to commit to this one. And just an important hint here is make sure that your management is on board and doing the communications, right? Because if IT is just sending you all these awareness campaigns, hey, again, it's a mail from IT, let's see next weekend, right? And then next weekend. So the balance in this case, from practical point of view, quarterly, minimum, but there's no strict, depending on how you work on it, right? So if you're working for a governmental organization, right, for example, having the fixed tools. On the other hand, if you're working for an organization developing new platforms and CRM systems and doing new stuff, the risk might be quite higher than in that case. Find out. Right. Good. Any other questions?
Yes, I will use the opportunity because this is like session that Ask Anything. I would like to ask you, because you've presented this from Gartner, this slide about the AI is going
the hype wave,
on the slope. And what are the constraints that keeping this AI not to develop? Because we all see all the limitations, because these are the problems that we are facing with what is currently developed. But what are the constraints and what are the new developments that are happening, and how you will comment? What will be the next generation of the AI? And how this will come on prime?
First of all, and if you see the market right now, and if you see that even banks, financial institutions are jumping on a platform, you should think twice, right? Because they see a lot of opportunities. AI as a huge cost right now. You know, the energy consumption, and even if Microsoft is buying an electro central in the US actually to power up their data centers, you need to think twice. The hype cycle right now is mainly about what can I do? What's the technology behind AI? Or what can it help out? So there was a lot of futuristic items on a few things. Now we're getting down to the earth again. The promises delivered are not there. Right.
New developments are happening.
What developments are happening right now is mainly automating and also mentioned agentic AI. So I think I can perfectly compare it to the early 1900s. Remember all these factories where people were doing the practical stuff, then the engines and the driven engines and using the oil-based engines to automate a few things. That's exactly what is happening right now. So we see a lot of things of AI happening. We thought it was robotic stuff that could do the things. But in essence, we'll need to shift mentality in many cases. So what can AI do? It's marvelous in collecting lots of data, doing trend analysis and a few things. So automating, yes, absolutely. And doing intelligence, not yet. So
it is moving to symbolic AI. So that will be the next level of AI, because now it is mainly working on the lower level. And the other advancement that is happening is integrating all this with physical environment.
Correct.
You mentioned robots and things like that, and integrating all the things, because this experience, physical experience, is missing.
Yes,
in ChatGPT and
we'll see what happens in that case. And to be honest, I'm not focusing actually on the physical integration, and certainly as a topic here is on cyber. I think that's a major area where AI can help a lot, and very typically in AI defense and security defense and security attacks. AI can be a major help because the volume we get actually of data to watch, and hackers are using this actually to confuse also the victims in many cases. So feeding that information, analyzing trends, and to predict what's going to happen in many cases, because in many cases hackers will use new attacks. I like the typical zero-day stuff. You don't know it's coming, and I think, to be honest, that's for cybersecurity the main area where you should look into enabling AI to do the massive data operations, and then giving you simple feedback. Okay, this is happening. This is a trend. This is helping out, and then taking action on that sense. So I'll leave the answer open for the physical stuff. I mean, you need to do another session on that one. But again, also OT, for example, right now is an area unexplored right now. But I think there's a major issue with OT on a different level, because I don't know if anyone is working with OT, but actually they didn't care too much about security right now. And what I learned certainly for the last few months is very simple. Lots of these companies producing OT systems provide fixed operating systems, fixed configurations, and actually the validity of these systems is based on the configuration.
Yes, but the security architecture is different.
Exactly.
in the OT system.
So, this
the
is
way
totally
of how you
different.
will protect them is not like usual protection in IT.
And they're not ready for AI yet, so probably let's stabilize the security on the OT's level first, and then talk AI later on. And see you next.
The new developments are happening, new standards, new integrating this in the tools and that are delivered in OT, because in the previous protocols they were not aware completely about the security, and that is mainly because they need to have a response time that is reliable. So it is not possible.
Yeah, and mostly
the way how they are doing is completely different logic than what we are
these systems are built to be stable for 20 years, and we're not used to that one, right?
So to be changed for 20.
Exactly. So that's the main thing.
Are there any architecture and strategy are different?
Yes. There was another question over there, right?
See, there is a lot of experience and critical thinking skill sets in the room, but not everyone is well versed with AI as a technology. So how do we sort of marriage the critical thinking skills of human skills with AI to create AI tools? I mean, is there any role for people like us who may not be sort of too much into AI technology, but people have experience, people have critical thinking. A lot of AI is critical thinking. How to, so what is the role for a common cybersecurity professional into
Well, it's an extremely good question, by the way. Feel free to ping me. And Arjan is in the room, by the way, so he's managing the campaign for skills. As soon as this recording we had last week is available, I will let you know. But that's exactly the question. And by the way, I took also parts of that discussion in this slide deck also. Critical thinking actually is not a skill you can learn from any of the educations, right? Not from GRC, not from any of the things you see over here in the calendar of PECB or any other technical education center. This is exactly the same thing I try to also explain. Please be aware that AI is just multiplying the human thinking in that sense, and you need to have sensible thinking actually without or with AI, it doesn't matter, right? If President Trump is telling you that you can use a sort of dafalgan, whatever, to stop being pregnant, right? Critical thinking, right? So yes, it's extremely important, but it goes into the different layers of AI. Just realize, by the way, if you want to have a checklist, again, these risk management platforms like MIT or Meter provide you a very interesting list. I have a few more slides over here and even a session I will show you in a minute. But critical thinking is very important. One of the things I would advise to you is try to take a step back first of all. So if you want to know where to go, is take a step back, right? What are the different layers necessary to make your AI working, right? One of the good things you mentioned already is data quality, right? So it all starts with the data you get. Connecting your AI to the internet, rubbish in, rubbish out, right? So that's important, one important thing. Then the ethical guidelines, the data protection guidelines. So in essence, depending on where you are and where you want to go, you can go anyway with AI. If you get fed up with the technical jobs, there's plenty of legal stuff you can explore, as what I explained also before lunch in that sense. So in essence, any role, any activity, developers, architecture, awareness and training, there's room for AI, right? So have a thought about that one, and we got a few things here, and I can show you. Prepare for that one, and we explained also in this session. So first of all, think about the general skills. What kind of background you have, right? A bit of education might help, but actually having also the will to learn is even more important. By the way, we had quite some interesting discussions also with people I'm coaching. this is becoming extremely difficult for juniors, right? So I see a lot of people having basic education, not necessarily AI, because it's all new, and not a lot of universities have AI education right now. But they come into the market and they're not ready for AI. At least they have the will to work on that one, give them a chance, right? So if you're willing to learn, you can do whatever you want, and sometimes it takes a bit of study, but actually a few years, a few months of study will help you advance a few things. And of course, the technology, meaning that there's every single day a new platform, so you can jump in a few things. Think what is relevant to you, but very important also is think about the AI models, language models, mathematical models. What is the tool is doing is very important. And then coming back a bit to the question, what's typically forgotten also, please be aware that AI models also have a basic mathematical principle behind it, right? It's just a very powerful tool to analyze a lot of huge data, a few things, and it's mathematics actually that's behind it, right? I'm blessed with two daughters, right? So 21 and 23 of 24 right now. One of them actually is doing a mathematical study actually on the university. It has cost a lot of sweat and tears also for that. But she was doing mathematics, and last year she had actually quite some interesting programming with Python, right? She had a book of the years of 1960 actually, where AI models were already designed at that time. I didn't know. So I learn every single day in that case. So if you know these models, how it works, you can have a very nice career and information. And then of course, that's why we're here also at the PECB conference. Obviously, information security, as what I explained in one of the previous slides, what the attacks on AI are, how are you using AI actually in attacks, is information security. And then also you mentioned also data quality, data protection, right? All day. Right, so if you want to go that way, go ahead. And very important, and this is not really always known, but also from the legal, social, and economical part, right? Human interaction. I see a lot of people actually from social engineering, social educations coming up actually in AI. So you need to design the interfaces. It needs to be user friendly. It needs to be friendly in interacting with people, right? I have one of my auditing companies, which is a very famous company actually in Belgium, also for document management, actually designed their AI bot. Right, so in the past they had actually a scripted response. So you had the typical, if you go to the company website, you can ask a few questions. In the past it was all scripted, so if there was a keyword, it was answering actually the question. Now they used an AI bot, and during the last audit it was quite nice to see, because I asked the head developer, can you show me the interface, how to manage that persona of the AI bot? Right? He had one page with just a short AI, so AI bot page, one page, A4, and all the actually parameters were in there. So you need to be friendly, and if the customer starts swearing, you need to respond this and so on, and then we try to start testing it during an audit actually what happens. So AI skills is also interpersonal skills, quite important, right? So it's not always a technical job. So, good. Yeah, Arjen, another question?
Yeah, I was just going back to your previous conversation about taking the time to critically think. I think we live in a world where that is not actually done quite often, but we have a responsibility to ensure that the information we're providing is as accurate as possible. But we also then live in a world where there is a platitude of information source, where a lot of the generation now are relying on the likes of social media as their base for information. With previous sessions we've had, we've seen how difficult it is to actually differentiate between real and fake information, and having to ask people to think about it. Gone are the days where you have one source where you can pretty much say you're relying on that source. How would you go about advocating for people to get that right source of information?
Yeah, first of all, pretty dumb answer to this one is don't connect your AI system to the internet. Right, so one of the things is if you want to run AI, you use your own data, right? So on the other hand, lots of companies have a lot of customer data, ticket data, wiki data, meaning learning from the tickets and helping the customers out in this case. So stick first of all to a trustworthy source you have and you manage is already better than the internet, right? On the other hand, common sense. What I try also to explain, and we mentioned the policies already, a fair use policy, and also a very important policy in that case is actually responsible disclosure. Right? So force people, ask them, but not necessarily force them, but ask them to be open in feedback. Right? If there is an issue, you should speak up. If you expect there is an incident or potential incident, speak up in that case. I think in that case, where I see that a management system, and it can be an AI management, it can be a cybersecurity management system, or 27001 information security management system, the most effective systems is where the culture enables actually to do that. And this is absolutely, I follow your opinion in that case. There is no way to limit people to use certain data. If they put it in, if you put in data, you don't know what happens, right? But having the mentality on managing the proper data and reporting any issues and adapting the system, continuously improving, which is the typical definition of a management system, is the only way to go, right? But also, and second thing is last but not least, admit you're wrong, right? So if the system is not working, take a step back, disable the system. And by the way, I don't know if you have seen the launch, for example, with Copilot versus Google, right? Microsoft has always been slacking a bit in deploying their Copilot, right? So Copilot made the same mistakes as the Gemini system, I think, for Google, right? That's the one. Google has lost a significant amount of money because Gemini was talking rubbish. Few months later, Copilot had the same thing. They had the luck actually to be a bit later in that case, but actually they shut down the system. They communicated about it, and that's one of the advisories I would give you is, if you plan to use it, first of all, do some due diligence, right? Make sure you choose the right system, feed the proper data to the system, and don't hesitate to shut down to do actually a governance and talk to your customers, right? So please be open and honest in your communications, right? So that at least should help you to keep trust, or keep the customer's trust in that case, right? And be smart, right? So good. How much time do we have still left? There was one other question over here. 7 minutes.
Hello. My question is about protocols. Protocols in the development of AI solutions, AI agents, because there are not. And maybe it's going to be the first, as I saw, was the MCP protocol. I don't know if you know this Anthropic protocol for context.
Are you talking about the protocols to develop products, or more technical protocols?
To connect different AI's engines into your data or your environments. So this MCP is a new context protocol that is doing the thing. It's from Anthropic, and the other guys are using this as the standard protocol. So this is the first I see as a standard. So the question is, if you are seeing something like a trend to be unified protocols, as was TCP/IP, for example, in order to control, in order to be more safe in the integrations of different.
Yeah, I think you need to ask the question to one of the guys actually for tomorrow, for example. I'm not a super technical guy on that one, so I can't explain how the NCP works. But again, they're building on the same kind of protocols as what cloud is using, and we had similar discussions with cloud, meaning initially cloud was set up as a sort of virtual data center, right? So using the old-fashioned protocols. It has been moved over time into the new versions of APIs, for example, and that's what the MCP now is doing. Yeah, my typical governance answer would be, in that case, shift left design security, meaning that make sure that these protocols are secure by default. We're all connected to the internet, to the cloud, so you don't know where the systems are going. By the way, that's pretty much the same discussion in OT right now. They use legacy protocols. They need to shift that to more open protocols, secured protocols. But in essence, I'm coming back to my initial feedback on the CISSP I made earlier on. Right, so it's the same discussion there. The old protocols won't do anymore. You need to design it. MCP is the next wave. Let me put it that way: is we will see if it's secure if for the next hack. Right. So if the next attack happens, then we will see where it goes. Until right now, I don't have any messages, and there are some specialists here in the room who are more into cybersecurity analysis of attacks and so on. But
and the architectures that the other normatives that things that is not yet in the field is architectures, secure architectures. For example, the air grab standalone for your AI system versus the connected AI system. So this is the other. Yeah, standardization.
Yeah, it's going to in a very advanced mode here, first of all. But one small advice: do some basic shopping in the best practices you use, for example. And by the way, it's also in the slide thing and the slide deck from last Thursday. Have a check, for example, on the OWASP. So the OWASP is very well known for the top 10, but they have also a generic, or actually an AFI framework where these kind of discussions is covered to make a checklist on that one if you're going into that area actually to work on that one. Have a check, do your due diligence, and make sure that you don't regret actually stepping into these protocols and so on. So, but I'm not the super technical guy to answer on the MCP one. Right. Good. Anyone else? Yes.
Yeah, I wanted to say something just regarding what you're talking about with outside the box thinking. And I think personally people tend to, or what I see from discussions with other professionals is people think AI is this thing that you treat separately. But in an organization, if you already have like baseline security controls that you apply to your other systems or your other products and services, I think at the very least that should be the starting point. When you're like building these new AI systems, or like if you're starting to embed AI into your normal SDLC cycle. So if you're going to do things like SAST or like secrets detection, scanning, those are things that you probably do as part of your normal SDLC life cycle. And then if you have like maybe AI generated code, those are things that you just feed into. So not necessarily doing too much of outside the box thinking, but applying the practices that an organization already has and just embedding AI as if it was any new product or any new service into that pipeline. I think that also goes a long way into helping.
Yeah, I think it's a very sensible feedback, and that's what I usually advocate is currently from a technology point of view, AI is moving extremely fast, right? So you don't know where it's going to tomorrow. On the other hand, for that same reason, what you're mentioning right now is I get questions, hey, can we still use 42,000 or 27,000 as a standard? Have a look at it. The good news is, of course, the 27,000 and the 42,000 certainly is quite new, but the general best practice in these standards still apply, right? So have a check on that one. And that's also one of the things I would like to advise is please be aware that the ISO standards are a bit more architectural level best practices, but you can always enrich these with more technical platforms, and that's exactly what Natalie, for example, also explained yesterday in the course. You can always go to the NIST documentation, and meaning NIST as in National Institute for Standards and Technology. One major advantage of these guys, although this week it's again governmental shutdown, but in normal circumstances, if Trump gets the budget, These guys are a public organization and are paid actually to pay these or to create these documentations. What I usually advise is have, first of all, do some basic governance based on the ISO and then do a deep dive on the NIST documentations, right? So these providing you with checklists, really practical checklists, and that should be the ideal combination. So the typical combination of ISO and NIST documentation is actually the ideal. So I always need to explain that ISO and NIST are not competitors, right? So they can be perfectly matched together and get to that level what you mentioned actually to do the governance in that case. These standards will stay there. The basic principles are there. Do shift left security and SDLC as what you mentioned. Think about it. Apply these principles. They will be the same today as of tomorrow, as in 10 years in that sense. So good. Last but not least.
Yeah. Thank you. It will not be a question, but an advice, because you're talking about architecture, security or AI architectures. I think NIST is doing good in checklists. More technical side.
Yes.
ISO 27 or ISO series are doing well for conceptual side.
Correct.
But not for the architectural. So if I can advise, would be SAPSA for security.
Yeah, that's the architectural approach and then putting everything in place and having the frameworks and setting up. Yeah,
engineered and architectural approach, SAPSA, that I would advise for those who are interested in.
And that's absolutely correct. So ISO is not telling you how to do, but what is expected from the objectives to achieve, and then you can use the more practical frameworks. But yeah, it will be pretty much the same story if we come back next year. There will be some updates, but in essence, that's the best practice. Use common sense, and then use the AI, right? Good. Yeah, just as a catch up on the session, there's 60 slides and whatever plus actually on the presentation, so we will make sure that you get access to it after the session. So we recorded all your presence here in the conference. We'll make sure you get access to it. I also will keep some posts actually for probably next few weeks if the skills session is recorded and present. So keep track on the skills website, RDN, right? So we will announce a few things. And see you back probably on LinkedIn or any of the other sessions. So I hope you enjoyed it as a bit of an exercise today.
Thank you.
Not done before, right? Good. Yeah, perfect, thanks. Good. See you in the next sessions.